The one thing that I've been explaining to people is let's look at the California wildfires as an example. There's a lot of people that didn't think they needed insurance because the Palisades don't catch on fire, right? It's a seaside town. It's not covered in that blonde grass that looks so beautiful on the little hills out here in Southern California where I am right now. It's mostly forested and full of houses. And so they think, I don't need insurance. Precious metals is insurance that you have to have in a way, because when you move your money to gold and silver, you've moved it out of harm's way. Those dollars aren't sitting in dollars anymore. They're sitting in ounces of gold and silver. They've left. Those dollars have fled where the trouble is. So when there's trouble and other things that you're used to counting on disappear or burn up in a financial fire or an actual one, then you make a phone call to get funds out of that bunker that gold and silver was for you, that financial bunker.
Welcome to another RTD Interviews, and today I'm excited to have returning guest, Mr. Paul Stone, the founder of Colonials Metals Group. And today he's joining us to share his thoughts on the economy, the markets, and everything in between. And as always, it's good to connect with Paul just because he gives a very interesting perspective on a variety of topics here. And in particular, this is our first interview of 2025, and I'm excited to connect because there's lots of things to touch on. So let me bring him on here. Paul, how are you doing, my good friend?
I'm great. How are you, my man?
I'm excellent, man. As I mentioned before we started recording this, I'm just so much stuff to talk about. I'm not lost for words, to say the least, but I was definitely looking forward to connecting with you to get your thoughts. And so here we are, 2025, and 4 days into a new administration. And there's a lot of things that are interesting, to say the least, from a variety of perspectives, but I don't want to jump ahead too soon. But I'm curious at this current moment, based upon what you're paying attention to, what's some things that stood out to you that you think that people should really be aware of?
There's a lot of good news and good things to be aware of, to be happy and hopeful about, for sure. One thing that just, I think, stands out to us, and everyone probably doesn't need mentioning, but just the stark contrast between what just left and who just rolled into the White House. I don't ever remember Biden having any dynamic conversations with us on camera. The cameras are just rolling, the press corps is just firing questions off, and you got a human being. No, it doesn't have to just be a man, could be a woman, but a human being is handling numerous tasks at the same time because they have enough mental power to actually deserve that position. The chief executive officer of the country, if you will, the president of many responsibilities, namely us, and inspiring growth and inspiring economic activity and having things made here in America are some great things to be talking about on day one. So I think it's very exciting to see what President Trump is announcing and working on and revealing what he's been working on. He hasn't just been down there in Mar-a-Lago getting the tan. He's been working he's been working before the election. He's been working since. And now he's bringing his things he's been working on the last 60, 70 days, whatever the time is between the election and being sworn in. He's already hitting the ground running. There's a stark contrast between what American presidents could be doing or could be designed by, or what they're made of, if you will, that should be inspiring us, that we should be looking for certain things in each president that comes thereafter. Smarts and capabilities and experience in real life, not just experience in politics. Joe Biden was a career politician.
So with that being the case, he spent a good portion of his life serving the people. And so a lot of people were not as happy with his tenure as they would like to have been. But then again, that's in the past now. So now we're moving into new administration. And as I mentioned, Donald Trump is in office. I want to jump right into just some things that he's introducing. And so here, Trump taps OpenAI Oracle for $400 billion Stargate AI infrastructure project. And so we have a lot of concerns having a deficit situation, a debt situation, and not right now in the best of terms with a lot of our other foreign nations, but yet he's announcing what he sees as a way of making America great again. And there's a lot of people who are concerned with this because of the people associated with it and things of that nature. But this is a part of a plan. What do you think he foresees or wants to accomplish, or how will this make America great again? And at what cost do you think?
I sure wish. I don't like it. I don't believe in it. I think it's going to be horrific. I don't think that humans, and nor any humans in government, have shown any positive track record of restraint when it comes to using power. I know they say using the nuclear bomb to kill 150,000 civilians in Japan saved more lives. But to me, using that, I think people were itching to use that bomb once they figured out the technology on how to create it. I'm shocked it hasn't been used since, the nuclear bomb. I think it's just because everyone has one, and it turns the planet into a barbecue grill if they all go off. But I just don't see AI as being anything that's going to end up serving the human race in a human manner. I think it's going to eventually eventually overtake. And I think that's the pursuit. I think that the mad scientists that want to go ahead and create a smarter, better human being have been working at it for a long time. We're very close to singularity. This isn't, to me, something that excites me. It's something that worries me. You got Microsoft, Bill Gates buying 3 Mile Island so they can have their own private nuclear reactor to fire up their AI services. North Carolina just recently, or South Carolina, just turned on an old or mothballed nuclear reactor. And this is another thing I just find ridiculous. These stupid politicians. France is completely nuclear powered. There's some risks to nuclear, but it's clean energy, right? We've been fighting, the lobbyists and our stupid politicians have been listening to fighting against nuclear power in this country. But now suddenly when it comes to AI, which is a control mechanism, if you will, it's a organizational power. It's a computational power. We can't even consider how powerful that would be when we can't see around corners. But to me, AI is always looking down. It's looking down. It sees everything at the same time. It can run 7,469 different scenarios in the same second with 3,000 different variables. It's unbelievable. And to me, this isn't something I'm excited about. It's going to be damn great for the software industry, but guess what AI leads to? Completely autonomously run fast food restaurants, right? It leads to that. It leads to the accounting industry going away, the financial advisory industry I've read going away, the bank teller industry going away. So many things that require a little bit of thinking that we get hired for, those go away. What happens when those jobs go away? Then the government has to print money for welfare checks because AI doesn't contribute. How much does a computer or a robot spend in the economy? How often are they buying a pair of shoes or a golf game or school books or anything? Nothing. They don't spend any money in the economy. They're going to replace spending. And this is the folly of going so hard in the tech world. There is no example of, and then with this, there's no example of the government ever saying, no, we need to stop here with the progression of this movement because we foresee it threatening jobs here of human beings in America.
And that's the thing. I do believe that disruption done in a orderly fashion can be productive, but then thrust upon the people to where it disrupts everything will definitely lead to chaos because it's going to be unsettling of a variety of sectors, as you just mentioned. But then also, as you were speaking, I was thinking about how the industrial movement, when it was introduced with the locomotives and the Henry Fords doing the assembly line, it too simplified things, disrupted things, but then it got us from the agricultural side of things into the tech side. And now we're going to be thrust into a digital revolution of some kind. My only concern is that it's coming at the same time governments are getting desperate. So ultimately, it's going to end up in a position where it's going to be used against us. And that's the part where I want people to realize that unless you're actively learning some skills to use it to your advantage, it will be used against you. There's different ways of looking at it, but it also has to do with what are you hoping to get from all this as an individual, not relying upon your government still. That's how I see things. What say you?
Yeah, those good examples of Henry Ford, and they replaced horses. So the motor car and the combustion engine replaced horses, and they got to go back off to pasture. This technology, ever since Windows 95, is replacing people, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we can clearly see that change is underway in a variety of forms of fashion. And so this $500 billion investment, the idea of a government investing, a government that's already tapped out investing is concerning, but it will be created, it will be spent, and then we'll see what comes from that. But based upon the current activity right now, I guess, what else do you think is probably on the horizon that will come out of this administration, given he's coming out swinging and he's literally holding no punches with wanting to promote and push a lot of things he sees as beneficial for us?
My original favorite the Commanders, the Redskins, to me are a great example right now, if people are into the NFL, of a team that's punching above its weight, meaning it's playing better than it physically could. On paper, the talent, the capabilities of each player, they're putting out a hell of a lot more capability than they may have actually come to the team with inside, like skills, meaning that the belief system inside them believe they can win the Super Bowl, and not in an arrogant way. That we've seen this so many times. These teams that have not the greatest record but a decent record end up winning the Super Bowl. If they spent the whole season showing they're a little low on talent compared to other teams and their record isn't an undefeated record, right? They've lost a quarter or a third of their games, and suddenly they end up beating all the remaining best teams to lift the Lombardi trophy. That's what I love about the human spirit. And what Trump is doing right now is he's causing his actions, his spirit, the way he talks, the things he's saying, how he's behaving is inspiring people to believe again. And that can cause a hell of a lot of great stuff to be happening in our economy, been in people's lives. We just suffered 4 years of an extremely dour, depressing approach to our own country, our own existence. Like Obama, when he was out there on the world stage apologizing for the greatness of America or our arrogance. And we saw Alec Baldwin and Sharon Stone criticizing and shaming Americans while they're at some film festival in Italy recently, right? A couple months back. And so they're just all that silly stuff. So that's incredible. There's always numerous things happening at the same time. And the flip side of all this is people need, as they're caught up in this excitement and, oh my God, it's almost like winning a damn war. Like we took our country back as some other group had taken from us for a while, and we're all indentured servants for 4 years into the swamps of misery. And now we're coming out of that and the sun's shining again. The one thing that I've been explaining to people is let's look at the California wildfires as an example. There's a lot of people that didn't think they needed insurance because the Palisades don't catch on fire, right? It's a seaside town. It's not covered in that blonde grass that looks so beautiful on the little hills out here in Southern California where I am right now. It's mostly forested and full of houses. And so they think, I don't need insurance. Precious metals is insurance that you have to have in a way, because when you move your money to gold and silver, you've moved it out of harm's way. Those dollars aren't sitting in dollars anymore. They're sitting in ounces of gold and silver. They've left. Those dollars have fled where the trouble is. So when there's trouble and other things that you're used to counting on disappear or burn up in a financial fire or an actual one, then you make a phone call to get funds out of that bunker that gold and silver was for you, that financial bunker. It didn't burn. And even if it does, it just melts, changes its shape. It's still gold and silver. So a lot of wealth has been destroyed because of either they didn't replace insurance they lost or they didn't have it here for thousands of people that mostly, or I would say at least a majority or a great chunk of people bought a house 30 years ago for $250,000 and today it's worth $4 million. And that wealth that came because the house equity increased and they may have borrowed from that and invested in other real estate projects or invested in the market over the last 20, 30 years has caused them to have wealth they didn't earn when they were in their career. It was the real estate up to higher levels that caused that wealth to come. The government could have pre-deployed, let's say the California government, $30 billion, right, over the last some many years and had extra fire trucks in a warehouse. Could have had other reservoirs for fighting giant fires they hope never came. Could have had a lot of stuff. Could have spent money clearing brush out. The underbrush is what everyone points to that is the best fuel for all these giant fires that have happened. Malibu burned a few years ago. But they don't, because they never have enough money to do things correctly. They only have enough money to do it over. So instead of an example, and I'll shut up, but $30 billion to be able to immediately throw resources at a fire and keep it to 1,000 acres instead of 20,000 acres burnt, they're going to have to spend $300 billion to replace the homes that are gone. So this is where I say, I know government can seem like it means, they seem like human beings just like us. They seem like they want to serve us well, and that's why they're running in the first place. But their track record, and I don't care. Yes, Donald Trump is part of that track record. He added 30% to the debt when he was in the White House. There's things that can't stop that are owned by the government itself, that the executive branch doesn't overlord and doesn't oversee and can't change with a hammer or a wrench. So the bills come to the government. The bills, the source of the bills can't stop. Government lacks vision to be able to see, hey, we could print some money here in the 90s, but God, we can't do this forever. We're going to have to figure out how Social Security gets an actual revenue stream somehow from the economy. It can't just come from the printing press. It can't just come from us killing the future value of the dollar when we get off into the year 2010 and 2020 and 2030. We can't have those dollars dead when we get there here in the 1990s or the 1980s. We can't kill our own currency to pay bills so retirees don't have to eat Alpo on a sidewalk and live in a tent, because one day they all will be if the currency ends up dead. And this is what we have to understand, this one thing. The government lacks vision to actually serve us well and prevent bad things from happening. Only in the military are they somewhat prepared, and that's obviously not the legislative branch, that's the military. So they ask for money and they spend it on cool stuff and they train and they're ready to fight, and best Army, Navy, best military, best Air Force in the world with the most experience. But when it comes to you and your savings and financially speaking, the only track record you can look back on is one of ruin, where the government presides over the ruin of our finances. Yes, there's, I think, 50,000 families in this country worth more than $50 million. There's over 1,000 billionaires in America. And I know most people that have a decent amount of savings savings aren't living where they could just shut everything off and coast. And I know most Americans don't have $500 to fix a car's transmission if it breaks down. That's sad state of a combination. So investing $500 billion in AI, I don't see how that helps. Not that I'm shaming anyone, but it doesn't help the 70% of Americans in the exit polls that said living here sucks. We're not even in the top 20 happiest countries on the planet. I don't even know if you could name 5 you'd want to go live in, or 10. We're not even in the top 20. So when we look at this situation, you can't move the barn. You can't move those homes when the fire is coming. You're going to have to rely on the government to stop that fire. Recognize they're the ones creating this inflationary fire. They're the ones creating this destruction. You can move the hay in the barn. You can move the wealth from the dollar to precious metals. And the day you truly, in your heart of hearts and all of your DNA inside your body, every atom is facing in the same direction and you're all united in this ultra positive knowing belief in your guts that there's no crazy crap around the corner, financially speaking, that you have to be worried about because we've passed it all by, then come roaring back out of precious metals and into something else that's exciting and sound. Not sound in the way that we could probably still print money for another couple years, so I'm good to go for now. The mind that cannot leave this party early is the mind that can only leave late. And late means the bust kicked in and devastation is afoot. The only reason, argue with me, ask me, look for yourselves, guys. Or have we been in a depression since the year 2008 and 9 if we back out all the money that's been printed? Debt was 15 trillion. In 2010, it's 37, almost 37 trillion today. So where'd the 22 trillion go? Didn't some of that end up in the markets? Didn't a whole bunch of that end up in having jobs? Didn't a whole bunch of that end up in everything? So back to 22 trillion out in fake money that the government's created that has ripped around through the economy. Take that back out. Have we not been in a depression since 2010? Let that horrify you because that's a mathematical fact. So if you can't relocate some of your savings away from harm over to safety before the bust really comes through, then you are of the mind that can only make that move after the bust comes through.
Yeah. Oh, man. So once again, hit on a lot of interesting points there that did a good job of bringing it all together. Don't rely upon the government. The government's been part of the problem. The problem still exists, such as inflation and the debt. So therefore, it's on you to protect and preserve everything that you worked hard for. If I could so politely sum that up in a sense.
You could fast forward everything I said and just skip to that, and there you go. You got the math. Sorry it takes so long to get there.
But it's like you do a great job of giving illustrations with numbers and details that people can actually go Google and get the same outcome of this is all like real. So even though we have a new administration, we're still on the same course to where the end results will still be a problem for some, and avoiding as much of damage is subject to your actions today before you get to that point, as you just mentioned. So that's one thing I continue to harp on and you continue to educate on as well, because these are real topics that no matter who's in office, the problem still exists. So those are things that people should be aware of.
Yeah, the thing is, 2 things. The bills can't stop growing. So what are the source of the bills? You say to yourself, hey, why do they print all this money? What's it being spent on? Oh, Social Security, Medicaid, and the military are $5 trillion worth of bills right there that they don't have the money to cover those costs. So they print the money. They've been printing since the year 2000. So when these baby boomers retired, if your entire state just retired out of the economy, and now they aren't plowing our financial fields anymore, they're in little cottages that the system has to pay for and give them some money so they can get around and go on a cruise once in a while and do some stuff and pay the electrical bill and the Netflix bill and the cell phone bill, right? And you got to feed them and you got to give them some health insurance. There's ingredients that go into those costs, and it's other people eating and other people driving somewhere and other people doing stuff and other people having these other costs and having kids because they work to support the system that supports the healthcare industry and the farming industry and all that stuff, the med industry. There's people working there. There's actors and actresses. All that has to get paid for you to have that stuff. So as the government prints to pay those bills, the costs go up in all of that stuff. And so they go, damn it, we got to print more to afford next year's bills. And then the costs go up. Damn it, we got to print more to get on top of the cost that went up. And then the costs go up. So as the government prints, the costs go up. So they have to print more. And that isn't going to stop because they don't have an idea how to generate that 5 trillion out of the economy. They're generating the 5 trillion, that big piece of frozen, locked in piece of the government budget every year. They're creating that $5 trillion from thin air, which is artificial. And commodities go, I see you cheating there. You didn't earn that money. You just made it out of thin air. So now our costs go up. And that's the penalty for fake falsehood finances. The costs go up. So you have to print more. You can't have something for nothing. And the other thing about this is, so that's what Trump can't stop. This isn't a Marvel movie that's kicking off. These aren't action heroes coming to Washington. They're human beings. They're not superheroes. They can't go zzz and all the problems go away. They can't go beat up some bad guy who's behind the scene, this nasty, evil Wizard of Oz guy who's making all these troubles for us, and they can go find him and destroy him. It's not a Marvel Comics movie for the next 4 years. So at the core of this is the money will continue to be printed. The costs will continue to go up, which makes the financial world more and more fragile because the dollar is the steel, the girders in our financial world. Any financial world, it would be a country's currency. And the dollar today is worth 3 cents. It would take you 33 $24, $20, $25 to go back in time in the 40s or 50s and buy something that costs $1. 33 bucks today to buy something that used to cost $1. And next year it's 34 bucks and 35 and 37 and 40 bucks until the dollar is exhausted. You can see the dollar's being exhausted if it's once worth 100 cents and today it's worth 3. That's like you're about to be scraping the barrel with nothing left in it. Bring money forward to continue to have this great American show going on that's been going on since, the year 2020 and certainly since 2008 when we really imploded and have not recovered from that fundamentally. They just printed a lot of money.
Yeah, printed a lot of money. And here we are today reaping the consequences of their actions and everything in between. But Paul Stone, as always, man, it's great to have you on and to get your thoughts and deep down analysis. You speak from the heart, and that's definitely something that people need more of. And we're going to get it. And so I appreciate you as always for joining us. For those who might be new, you never know who might be new. I want to point them to where they can find out more about your services that you offer, the self-directed IRA as well as precious metals in general. So if you guys are interested, go to colonialsmetalsgroup.com, take you right to this page here, and you can get more resources directly from Paul and his team, and definitely educate yourself. That's what it boils down to. And if anything else, Paul, I appreciate you for taking time to join me once again, and I'll put the information in the description as well so people can grab a hold of it if they like. So as always, it's been great to partner with you to educate people and provide them resources, man. So I thank you, and definitely looking forward to connecting again soon and getting your thoughts based upon what we experienced in the end, and hopefully more people have taken precautionary measures to protect themselves before the inevitable, whatever that is. So as always, thanks for joining us, and look forward to continue to have you educate us, man. Thank you
for having me again. Thanks for putting up with my long points. Yes, we could talk about the excitement in Trump world and America today. He's doing a great job. Close the borders, get things organized. Let's pay attention to the laws that are on the books. If we don't like them, let's get Congress to get some courage and change those laws. But yeah, let's have something organized. Let's be an exciting, attractive place. Let's do the best damn job we can while this thing takes on water. If there was a way for them to say, for example, let's take our country back. Let's have everything made here. Let's give all corporations 1 year to stop having anything made in China. You get 1 year. And if you can't meet that goal, I don't care. We don't care. This is America. Americans used to work here making stuff. Now we just drive around spending money on stuff. 70% of our economy is driven by spending money. So if you were designing a successful financial future plan for a family, would you say you should be making stuff here in America or you should be spending money here in America? Which one do you think has longevity to it?
Yeah, producing, exactly, manufacturing stuff. So, and hopefully we hear something soon enough where, some incentives are done that will definitely bring that back. I know he's trying to do something with the tariffs, and he's mentioned about cryptocurrencies that originated here get some type of advantages and things like that. So there's some things mentioned. Once again, I haven't heard nothing about shirts and t-shirts and socks and everything that the majority of people need on a day-to-day basis being brought home yet. I'll reserve my judgment until we get more out of DC. But yeah, so here we are now. But as always, man, appreciate you, and have a blessed day, blessed week. And more power to you. Keep doing what you're doing, my friend. Thank you for joining us on RTD Interviews.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great one. God bless.